Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Magnum Opus. Now, it's been a few days since I last played, and I have also rearranged my house a little bit, and so I'm in a different chair and moved my microphone around, so if I sound different, that is because of that reason, but ideally there will be very little noticeable change or no noticeable change, and everything should work fairly nicely. So let's just hop into the story. Of course, since I haven't played in a while, the frustration I've had with this game in the past has kind of melted away, so I don't feel that, even though I know I definitely did feel that in previous days. That being said, also, any potential familiarity with this programming macro system may have eroded away also, so I could very easily run into a puzzle here that is at a high peak of a difficulty spike and have quite a bit of trouble. We'll just have to see how it goes. I never thought that alchemy, let's see, Concordian Limb is saying this. Never thought alchemy particularly dangerous before, but I see now why it was once so feared. It is an alarmingly powerful art. There's good reason alchemists must be licensed before they can practice. It would be kind of crazy, I would say, if the story went in a direction where all of a sudden he's like teaching alchemy to normal people. It wouldn't be crazy, I think, to think that he teaches Concordia Limb alchemy, but if he did something that made it just available to the average citizen, that would have an implied large amount of repercussions that I don't think there's enough game here to really touch upon. It would be interesting, certainly, if you were going to do like a sequel to something like Full Brother Alchemist, which it can be hard to make a sequel to it. But it would be interesting if there was a certain point where alchemy just became commonplace knowledge and known by most people in the world. And frankly, in Full Brother Alchemist Brotherhood, I think more than even the original Full Brother Alchemist, you ran into so many people that knew alchemy anyways that it felt like most people knew it. Would you consider yourself licensed at the moment? That's a special circumstance. By all rights, we should be dead, so I doubt it matters now. So, like, the story doesn't even really tell you what you're building here. We're making a voltaic coil, which is a repeating pattern of fairly high complexity here, with noticeable points here where salt is going to be a big factor, and the center part is lead. A voltaic coil probably is not too different from a battery in modern speak, so that's what I'm gonna pretty much assume it actually is. Okay, so in these higher, more difficult puzzles, I am thinking you just probably want to start with something easy and simplistic using one item, and then expand from that point if you're going to do anything more. Because there's a couple different ways you could do this, certainly. You could have a separated one here, and then you could have an arm here that would try and swing between them. I guess you'd have to have two here, and then hit one here. And then that would let you... Well, actually, it'd probably be better to do something closer to that. Grab this, swing this way, then swing back. And then you would need, let's see, an arm here to put one here and one here. That would get these two parts. Now, the question would be, are these two parts effectively the flipped over 180 version of these two parts? I think they are. So like this goes in this angle and this goes in this angle, yeah. So if you rotated these two parts 180, it would be here. So then it becomes just a question of space, because we need to be able to make this connection and then make two more connections of the same kind, which, I mean, arguably you might be able to do. It wouldn't be crazy to specifically just have this piece picking up things and then putting them here, and then have another couple down here working the opposite direction. This would definitely be more of an efficiency build, because it is fairly obvious you could just build everything with this top half and then rotate it, but you would take up more space doing that. And I'm almost thinking that a space-saving measure would just benefit everyone, even now. So picking this up and rotating this way and this way, and picking this one up and rotating this way and this way. That doesn't save on cycles, certainly, but at this level, we've never really learned to care or appreciate cycles. You're gonna have to be fairly careful here. You're gonna have to pick one up and then rotate and then place, pick one up, rotate and place, then come over here and then pick one up and place, but then that would hit that one, so you probably have to pick this one up, put one here, pick this up, then rotate this way, put one here, then pick one up, put one here. Even at that though, you still are running into problems where you don't have room to put this here. You're going to crash into things unless there is a scenario where you just wait an incredibly long amount of time to place one here so that you can pick one up here and then just rotate all the way around that way. Yeah. That is going to confuse the issue, I think, quite a bit. Then there is the final connection part of this, where this piece needs to, you need to kind of make your connection here, and then you kind of need a middle connection in them to connect these two. So if we're going to think of it from that perspective, we've got some room over here on the left. Like, ideally, you need something like this and something like this after those two, just to make this more of a factory line. And you are just going to have things here that are going to get overused, like one here, one here, one here. That's not going to save you the most area, but will give you kind of a simplified conveyor belt concept. And we can't save any space by putting the glyph of calcification here, or putting the arms or anything. All of that needs to be cleared. And I don't think there's a point here that I can see where this would accidentally fuse with something else. So I think we're kind of safe in that aspect. So let's get down to the beginning of programming. And start this moving. Well, I suppose we could probably save ourselves some sanity simply by using up more room. Put that there and it still should be fine. And then maybe that means that would be used also. And I guess the next level of craziness about this, certainly though, is the tracks. Fixed arm length. Ready to grab here. Ready to grab here. At a certain point, 5 will be able to go to this point, and that's as far as I think it needs to go. But it's not just those tracks. We also have another set of tracks. Yeah, and honestly, I don't even know if this top one needs to go that far. It really very possibly only needs to go that far. Okay, let's start coding this now, even though it's taking up like more visual room than I can even get on the screen. They really did not test this game in lower resolutions, to the point where they should have just said straight up, we're not going to support these resolutions. It would have made a lot more sense for them to simply opt out of that idea and just say, no, we're not going to do that. And instead they could have focused on having a big text mode. I'm gonna just go ahead and add this, but even in the higher resolutions, I still don't think you really have a argument for Yeah, I don't think you really have an argument for why there's really only 6 bars on this. It's more of an argument that they didn't really test the game enough at all. Because even if I had a couple more bars here, there's clearly a level here that that makes it unmanageable, and you can't like drag and drop or resize any of this. I wouldn't be surprised if it would have worked better if you could zoom in and zoom out, but even that would be kind of a hassle. So what we're trying to do here is, instead of having this track, just to have 2 extension arms to speed up the process for efficiency. But that certainly does, once again, just highlight the situation where you end up serving no specific master and coming out with code that is a little efficient, a little area efficient, a little cost efficient. But if you're actually going for the high scores, you don't actually manage to succeed at any of that. Alright. Just needed to pivot that one. And clearly, if you just had a second reagent, you could speed up the process a little bit faster. Or you could also have another thing here and just extend it that way and grab the second one faster that way. It's slightly more complicated when grabbing this one and trying to get here. You'd have to have a track to grab it and then move it, or like you really can't push it. But let's not overly complicate this so much. Now, what's this one? Number 3. Let's start with number 3 first. Its code, it's fairly simple. Take it, rotate 1, 2, 3, unrotate 1, and then reset, and then pick one up and rotate 1 and reset. And number 4 here, its code is exactly the same for the most part, except for it's going to be reversed. You're going to pick one up, you're going to rotate 1, 2, 3, and then reset. Nope, not quite reset. Unrotate, then reset in the opposite direction, just reflected. Your code is going to be as reflected as this design is going to be reflected, and arguably this is supposed to be kind of an aha moment where they are trying to make you realize that some of your code actually does end up having a correlation to what you would expect to see as far as the game goes. There isn't, however, in my opinion, enough of a correlation there. And at this point, I'm gonna drag just a grab here. And honestly, we could probably grab here. And I think all this code will be the same. We're going to just grab everything. We are going to go several pluses all at the same time. I guess the real question is, where are we going to drop this when everything is said and done, though? Because if we make a full combination here, we now then need the final product to probably be a little bit further. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. As silly as it is to once again just repeat that code. No, we may not need that then. Let's see if we can do without that. We'll go ahead and mark that still. And the number of pluses, I guess, is going to be 1, 2, 3, I think. Except for 6, which is going to need to be the slightly different one, so we'll make that 5. 1, 2, 3, and then everything else will let go and reset at that point. I mean, theoretically you could just have everything move forward, but there's kind of no reason to do that. That will push us back a couple more steps. And reset. There. Barring any mistakes, that should be it. What happened there? Okay, simple mistake made on this one. That is number 3, which probably means all of this code is backwards too. Either that or all the code is the same and it was actually supposed to directly mirror everything. Ooh, and we immediately run into a problem. We've got basically no level of efficiency that can happen here. I've thought and done this fairly linearly. But let's just get it to work. Atoms and arms may not collide. What collided? Alright. So this code is the same. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought it would have been the same, obviously, but I'm also not super surprised by that. feel like I may have just overcomplicated this. Trying to do all of this at once. Because now what we're running into is a real timing issue where like this here needs to happen before this happens. Like that. And arguably that means this needs to also happen at some point like that. Nope, actually this one needs to happen earlier, but oh, there's just no way that's gonna ever work. Because either you get to this and you make something weird, or you get to something else and you make something weird. So I think we are in for a bit of a rethink where we get rid of this one, we get rid of this one, and we get rid of this one. Let's see. Now, can we potentially save ourselves some twists? But this, yes. So take this out and we will repeat, but we will repeat at a different time. And take this code out and we will repeat, but we will repeat at a different time. And these times will not overlap. Okay, so that makes basically the wrong thing. Which can then, I guess, be corrected into the right thing. Because, yeah, you can just pivot it over the calcification spot. And that would do that. So then the next step here would be to either pivot it back and get it in the way, or simply just have an extendable arm that would grab it and push it. Just be ready to grab with number 8 and then push it back into the right spot and be ready to here, I think would be the better way to do this one. That way we're mirroring still with the code. If we can get the placements of things in the right place. And see, all this one really has to do is pick something up and pivot it back into space, into the right place, and extend it. So then the track is not even needed for 5, because everything else will be handled by 8. Which at this point, for sanity's sake, let's just get rid of 6 and 7. And let's see how this works. Well, we are going to be going back to reflecting code. As far as number 4, let's see. And I guess there's probably just no good way to speed this up, so you're gonna just have to wait. Even if you were to try and save money and space and do this just twice, I don't feel like you speed it up actually in a number of cycles. This one does seem like it should be able to move a little bit faster though, but oddly can't. Okay, well then let's reflect this code here again, which I really can't blame a game for not having a versioning software system in it. That would be asking quite a bit, but it sure does suck when you end up doing the same thing over and over again and getting and having to undo what you undid back to what you did. Number 4 here could very well be delayed just to stagger with this one. You can see how the code would kind of work that way, moving things around in the general thought. What just happened there? Why did number 2 pivot again? Yeah, because I've got completely the wrong code. It literally just needs to turn twice and then reset. Well, that's easier. Which also means I overwrote the code when I was undoing things. Alright. Just pan to make sure everything is here. Yeah, okay, we've got everything else going good, but there is kind of a gap here that I don't think is really needed, so I'm gonna just drag everything back to and see if that works before we get to the next step. Yeah, good. Okay. Here's the next problem though. We've done this out of order. This one and this one would be in the right spot, but the toggle aspect here needs this one to come back. Plus, this one probably does need to be on a track at this level. And that definitely wouldn't be the most efficient way to do this. To end up having to basically come and grab this one and move it forward and then swing this one and pivot it back. But I think it'll work. So at a certain point, just getting something to work is probably better than just making perfection potentially be the enemy of good enough. I'm thinking right about here. Here. Well, it would definitely help if this code was written correctly and this wasn't just the old code. Pick it up, and then number 5 should pivot this way. Number 6 I think pivots this way. Both should extend. Number 6 then should let go, and then number 5 should then put one forward. I think maybe another one forward, and then reset at that point. Let's see how that works. So for the problem, of course, that we need to rewrite the code more so that, like, we need to figure out how to make the salt one first and the other one second. Also, this should be going here, and it didn't seem like it did that. Okay, how can we do this so that we end up with the salt one first? I think you just are gonna have to swap around the code a little bit more. And that means we're gonna pick up, and then we're gonna pivot the other way. And honestly, that probably means we've got more time. So I'm thinking we could probably start this fairly early. Just at the beginning here, maybe. Like, it might be that easy, because now while this is doing this and while we're waiting for this, there's a level of more efficiency there. grab, move forward. No, actually, this code should happen first. And that means that number 5 here, really just at kind of this point, should be able to just grab, move it forward. And I don't even think it needs to extend. So I'll just get rid of this code and see how that works. It's a little too early. Still a little too early. Well, we've got the first part there. Only problem is number 6 needed to have gone a little bit further. Extend, go +1. See how that works. Okay. The next bit of this, unless we could just luck out and find out that moving that one thing is the only thing that needed to happen, which I didn't think I'd get that lucky. Next bit of this would be kind of the act of resetting it so that we could I don't think this got put quite in the right place. I think we need another plus here. I kind of think maybe just a repeat is kind of all we need. Let's see. We're still suffering horribly from the fact that there's just... Okay. That makes 1. And then 5 repeated a little too early. Okay. 6 does need to be able to come back this way. So there's a level of kind of silliness in how this is being done, but we're kind of optimizing here by having the pivot happen and having this start here, when logically you could just do the same thing as over here and have this one swing and then be dropped down and then grabbed by this one. So instead, to account for that, we, instead of just repeating our exact actions, are going to go back 1, then back 1, then extend 1, and then grab, and then 1, 2, 3 and reset. Yeah, we're adding at least 2 steps extra there for no good reason. But good news is we have everything there. So if this works here, we found our solution. 46 minutes in, I think that's good enough. More and more, I don't want to waste my time trying to optimize at least the initial solution. Here you can see from the histogram, from the vast majority of people, that's the amount of area that is used. It's not even that bad on cycles, which I'm a little surprised about. And it's fairly bad on cost. Let's see. So, what can we do to reduce the area? What you do to reduce the area is probably not too different from what you would do to reduce the cost. You would take all of this out here and here, and this one would go too, and this one would go here, and this would go here. As far as cost, at that point, instead of having this extend, simply just have this swing area. I think would be taken up kind of here still. Alright. So one, instead of extend, is going to swing. That's going to make that. So you take your first one, you at this point would have your first one grabbed and pivoted like that. Okay. And so what you need to have happen here is for this one to be flipped and placed there. Can we reach this? No. So what you would do instead is move it kind of over here, which I think at a certain point probably does make an argument that this is all going to start going in different directions. Grab pivots and rotate, or honestly it might be better to grab, rotate, then pivot. Let's see if we can have that happen a lot faster. Not that fast. Okay, that worked. Just rotated the wrong way. See, and that would take up one more space, so let's see if it takes up less space if we pivot first. Yeah, it does take up one less space. Don't think it needs to extend at this point. I think it literally just needs to pivot again. So Pivot, rotate, pivot. There we go. So the next bit of this exercise would be to have him at that point do a negative, extend, grab, and I think it might very well be a double extend grab, and then I think you're going to have to potentially pivot 3 times, and then we'll just leave the rest of this code here and see what happens. Yeah, it's gonna be iffy, but not too iffy. What we'll simply do is we'll add an extend here. And we'll use this code there. Not quite. Let's see, pivot, pivot on top of the track. Wasn't quite what we needed. We needed just a plus and then a counter rotation and then an extend. And at that point we don't need the extension. Good. We're doing debugging as well as I think we can in the whole life process. Only slight problem there in that we needed to rotate it the other way, rotate it one more time, and then we put it there, and if we were to leave it there like that, we're actually, I don't think, far enough ahead, but we'll see. Let's see, we needed one more pivot, and once we had that first set, you kind of need this extra room. You're not really using this extra room yet, at least. Probably using that. Let's see. Which very well means you could just maybe move everything up that way. But we may have to add some shenanigans here to find enough room for everything. Because yeah, you make your first connection here, and you're pretty much always going to make your first connection there. And then you're going to have to potentially back it up after that point, which maybe that doesn't matter too much. But yeah, if you were to back the first connection back this way, there is a possibility of this happening. Just a kind of weird pattern that potentially might work. Let's see how that works. Yep. If we do that, we've got to make room. So 3 is going to have to go one further to drop it off. And then the pivot is going to need a plus first before it can do that final pivot. I think our code's a little wrong here, and we're taking up another area that's probably not necessary. Okay. And at that point, you would drop it, and you would go and pick up the other one, bring it back, and then bring the whole thing forward, and then you would have a properly connected one that would need at that point to move forward one. Or am I doing this wrong? Yeah. No, actually, I think that works. I think that code works fine. We just would have to add 1x here. Yeah. Of course, now I see the problem with the idea of swinging. Like, this has always been problematic code, so yeah, the idea of swinging twice and then grabbing it and pivoting it has never really been the way to go. Okay. Instead, we'll have number 2 just swing twice and hit it, while we will have number 1 delay his actions by like 1 step, which really doesn't even matter. And then we will have the unswing in that direction. And then it means this one is gonna go ahead and grab this one here. It is not going to rotate. It is going to honestly, let's not even have the swing and unswing. Let's simply swing once, make the thing. At this point, grab it, go plus, retract 1, and then go plus again, and then reset and see how that works. Yeah. Only slight problem here is that we need to go plus 1 more. And once that resets, that should be back at the right place anyways. So all we would really need is one extend and this. Then we'll see how the rest of this code potentially works. Well, that's not right. So how can we get that to work on the second cycle? Or have we just not thought that through enough to make sense? Like if we just left that there, I don't know. Yeah. What we need to do at this point is we need to reverse the code. So we need to make this bottom half and get that back where it needs to be first. So take this minus out. While that is resetting, repeat. You're just gonna have a big gap of nothing happening here, enough so that you're gonna have a trouble even just seeing the code. But yeah, at some point around here you're gonna repeat that, and since this is all the same code anyways, we'll get rid of this, place that there. And honestly, I think you'd probably somewhere like that. Thing that I think we're gonna have to wait for though is this one. They start over again for some reason. Once again, it's this compiler just not synchronizing everything, when clearly that should be the only option, is that everything synchronizes and ends after the last bit of code is executed. But they totally don't play for that. Okay. Extend this now. I'm just basically going to do this code in reverse. Extend, grab, pivot 3 times, plus, pivot another time, plus, plus. Yeah. And at this point, I don't even know my own code well enough to know why there are 3 pivots here, then a plus, then another pivot. I think we did that to avoid crashing into this one, which, yeah, I guess that would make sense. Plus, plus, reset. Slight problem we're gonna run into, and so we're gonna have to move this, I think, even further out of the way. Yep, that's where it needs to go. Is we need to get rid of this one, reset that. Meanwhile, we'll get rid of this, and we'll set up some repeats. And it kind of doesn't even matter if these are efficient or not, since this bottom part of the code is going to limit the speed at which anything could do anything. Anyways, like, clearly they could be building more, but unless I added a second arm that was grabbing things and assembling it faster, it doesn't really matter. So let's just see if we get the timing far enough apart so nothing collides. Again, I'm just kind of stupidly just taking one step forward each time when it doesn't justify that. Okay. So the last bit of code, once this resets, should be grab, go, plus, and then retract, and then let go. Ooh, we're in danger. Because if I pull this back after I've assembled it, it's going to turn it back to calcium. No, honestly, I think I want to just leave the puzzle at that. We'll have an error here. Let's just get it to actually work, and then show that there would be one more thing that would have to happen, that we would have to encode for moving this calcification pad somewhere so it's less in the way, which it wouldn't be too hard to frankly put it here and then have this rotate here and then rotate all the way around and just have this out of the way until it's needed. That would add more time, but we are making a space build here, not particularly a cycle build. That, let go, and then I should be able to just now go forward to grab one, go -1, and then go forward, let's say 2, and then cap it off with a reset. Code is still incredibly long and unmanageable. Yeah. Problem is you need to pull back at this point. You can't just go plus, can you? Alright, well. Didn't move this far enough away. And I'm going too far. You know what we could do to solve this, and I don't think it's really worth the effort to write the code, but clearly I just needed this point. This needs to end up at the top here, and then the other one needs to pivot and end up downward. And what is it colliding with? So yeah, specifically at this step, instead of this one being pivoted and just left there, it should be pivoted further and put upwards here, and then the other one should be rotated and put here. Can we write that code though? Let's see. Pivot, 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 forward, pivot, plus, plus. That point. Let's see. You'd make it here instead of going 1, 2, 3. I think. Let's risk this. Instead of pivot, just grab it from where it is. Extend, grab it's not even necessary, just grab it. Go forward to retract. And then reset. And let's just see if that works. Well, yes, that code works, but it's the wrong code, so let's see if we can undo everything we just did. And put it instead here. So then, yeah, get rid of the attract, get rid of the pivots. Attract. Okay. That only runs into the slight problem then of the salt calcification, which maybe in an effort to save space you spend a little bit more money, 10 more gold, and you do that. Does that change anything else we do? A little bit. But maybe not too much. If we just go forward first. Yeah. So you've got this like room in which you're using 4 squares to potentially save the day. So I don't think you need this gap. I think you grab the last assembled one at this point and probably extend and grab it. Problem is everything's in the way now. Just everything is going to be in the way. You'd have to extend, not extend, grab it, pivot it. So now it would be parallel to that. Let go of it. Then go +1. Grab it from the other side. Pivot it again. Extend it at that point. And then that's where I think you start to lose me. So let's get rid of everything except for just reset. You can build that. You can build that. But where's the mistake here? The mistake is this needs to be here, and it needed to be built on that pattern. Not the other pattern. Which would, like, theoretically, I guess you could try and build it here, but that would take up another space. So man, I think what you probably do is you probably move these around, which that was kind of my first instinct anyways, is that you would probably want something closer to that. Let's see how much that actually messes up the code though. Quite a bit. And see, even when you get to this point, you're kind of in a weird spot. It would almost make more sense to assemble it horizontally here, rotate it, and then attach it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna part ways with this puzzle at this point, since it's been an hour and 20 minutes. There is definitely a level here where this is more what's the right word to use here? Mostly doable. Trying to save space here. I don't see a scenario where this gets crazy out of line. I guess what you would do is at this point simply just go forward one, which then means everything has to go forward one. Which you can't go forward one if you don't have track to go forward one. Which apparently this one had more than an extra plus for it. Yep. Still just completely unmanageable. So you would put something there, which arguably, by putting something there, you are pushing everything forward more than you probably could. And then I think you need to do that. Also, where are we on the code at that point? What did it? Pivot, let go, pivot, extend. I think at this point you would add 2 pluses and a minus. See how that works? Well, that did get everything set. So then once you have 2 pluses and a minus, then you run into the next problem though, where you would have to either use the extension arms to push these so you have more room and take up another space, or you would have to have longer arms that could reach these so you'd have more space. Either one of those could work. And that would potentially solve an issue. Like, honestly, so many of these solutions really do boil down to just recognizing that longer arms get things out of the way. Because when you put in these longer arms, there's a chance you might hit something, I suppose, but that's your biggest problem. Yeah, I would just replace that with this one and have it extend, and then replace this one with that one and have it extend, and then just have 2 pushing actions, and then that would take up more space. And actually, it's not even too hard to fix that code so it does that. Just do that and that. Since everything else is a repeat. And then that leaves us with the opportunity to do this one and then let go, and that should have everything hopefully not leaning over this salt, but maybe it would be leaning over the salt, which arguably maybe not too big of a deal. But minus minus, let go, plus plus plus, grab, minus minus minus, and then I think somewhere around plus plus, and then reset. A lot of room for error in that code. Yep, you bring it back and it hits that salt, and then it leaves room for more improvements, certainly. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't really need this salt and probably would just replace this one with this one, and that would solve that problem, but then you would have to rewrite the code. That leaves you at 185 gold, and as far as area, 74 area. So yeah, 74 area does seem to be about the right amount of area to get it low enough. Gold at 185. Seems like 185 might be the second tier of gold, but there does seem like there is a better solution. Cycles wise, yep. Not sure if there's much more optimization one could have here, other than just having more arms grab things and move things, because there is that slight delay where this is moving back to pick things up, whereas if you got more of a conveyor belt system and you had 2 or 3 arms just programmed to go in circles, that would clearly make you have slightly more efficient code. Gold wise though, like 185, how could you reduce your gold more? There might be a case where you don't have to go as far, so you could probably get it down to like 180. There probably is a case where you could pivot like crazy and get rid of 2 of these glyphs of bondings. Just have a nice central kind of hexagonal space where you could pick something up and pivot it so that you could use this both as tilting one way and the other. But the code would be a nightmare, certainly, if that was the case. The story continues. Imagine, though, if ordinary people could use alchemical engineering in the service of their own well-being. I'm not at all certain that would go well. Besides, even an alchemist can't reverse the momentum of the world. But if there were a group of alchemists all working to the same end, things could change dramatically. It would be interesting, I guess, if the story ends that there's becomes a new group of alchemists in charge and less of more of a like feudal system. I did say in a previous episode, it is kind of crazy that there wouldn't be a way to take an alchemical engine and just kind of hard build it and hard code it so it only did one thing. It would make a lot of sense to have one that could purify water, for instance, to make drinking water safe always, while not giving people the opportunity to modify it so much that it could turn lead into gold. Although at a certain point, I think the idea of being able to turn lead into gold probably makes gold not very valuable, which is probably a good thing. The story continues, perhaps, but I very much doubt you could get two alchemists to agree on anything, let alone many of them. Alright. Next, we're making an unstable compound. Concordia, can I ask you an odd question, if you must? Are you still driven by the idea of revenge? Yes, certainly. When I recall what happened, I feel anger as raw as the day it happened. House Colvane ruined us and killed so many. For what purpose? I owe it to the memory of those lost to see some manner of requital done. I see. But Anataeus, what prompted you to continue down this path with me? I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much. We're coming quite a long way for you to remain so unaware. I suppose it's a matter of who I am. Were it not for our goal, what reason would I have to exist? I must practice alchemy. It's my purpose. Yeah, it does kind of paint Anataeus as kind of a weird character who is only interested in doing alchemy and obsessed with it. So, unstable compound why would you want to make an unstable compound? I would assume it's probably something along the lines of gunpowder. And they're bringing back gunpowder or nitroglycerin. Might be a better guess. They're getting back to the triple bonder, which we have not done anything with the triple bonder, and it does seem very weird that has just been not even an option for us to use, even though it would have been the wrong option in almost every case. Okay. Is there a way? Like, is there a way to do this that makes any sense at all? Because we need a full hexagon. We need salts to connect at some point, which I think means something around this. And then we need something that's just going to be pivoted from a distance. So let's just take that one, put it here, and then put piece there. It's probably a little bit easier to put that there. And yep, that's that. I can't help but think maybe there's a solution here I can find to have this take up less area, because it kind of feels like you should be able to do that. Just find an angle here. to squeeze some things in. I don't think there's a great chance though. Not if I'm gonna try and have everything end up where it is. Okay. We take one and put it here. Can we take one and put it here? I don't even think this works because I think, oh, there's a danger. Certainly the center parts probably would be fine. Okay, I guess that's safe. If I could extend this, this would work. But like the triple bond, I don't think it's overwritten with this. So if I was to make a triple bond and then try and make a new bond on top of that, I don't think that would happen. It's a interesting thought. But I don't even know. I don't even remember how I did the triple bonds before. Let's just start with that. Right. Number 3. Pick up one and drop, extend and drop. Pick up one plus extend and at that point I think it's just pivot, and then maybe once you have that pivot, you pivot again and then go minus, and that should maybe get you a triple extender at that point, triple connection. So then that works. Let's unpivot and go plus plus and see what happens there. Puts one there, puts one there. That's a triple connection. And yes, a triple connection does not allow for something like that. Let's see. You get this kind of different sound effect. Okay. Now, next step. Would be, if that gets you a triple bond, next step would be to ask, Is there a way we can get the salt involved and get it into the right place? Like, this one can't be anywhere near it, so I think we won't be using that. I think what you could do is try to find something like this. And where could we reach from that? Could reach to that point, which I think would necessitate that being there. And potentially we could then have that overlap and use the least amount of space poorly used as possible. Still going to have a ton of space and area used, but I think at this point it may not be worth it to try any further or harder from that. And I'm thinking set up something like this. You bring back this. But that's not the solution, is it? Like, before you even think about the salt or the pivot, you need a triple bond here that expands in a very different way. Because you need this triple bond pair to then get another triple bond pair. So, where does this start? Like here? Extend. And I don't know if we even need that. And this isn't a great example where if this game had you solve this mechanism and you could save it as a mechanism, or if it literally would just take your solution from a previous puzzle, like the first solution, best solution, whatever the first solution would be, I guess, and use that as your layout by default, it would help you do something like this without kind of having to reinvent the wheel every single time. Grab plus extend. And pivot. I guess at that point it probably is a minus. We'll see how that works. That crashes into something. Okay. And then at that point, you I think reset. You should be fairly ready for the next bit of this. This is gonna get in the way real fast. And the code's gonna get crazy real fast. He said pick up, go plus, extend. And then at that point pivot, and I think probably just unpivot and then reset, release minus, and probably retract, release minus, retract, grab, and pivot. See how that works? Maybe you didn't need to retract. Maybe I just didn't do all the code. Pivot in the other direction. Okay. Next problem certainly will be the next step there. Let's go ahead and just put a reset for good measure. Like, really, this would have to pivot twice. And that's almost certainly going to crash into something. Yeah. Well, no, because the problem here isn't so much the later pivot as it is that pivot. Yep. So once again, grab, go plus, extend, pivot 1 to hope that works, and then I think pretty much just unpivot and then extend and see if that works. Does that make this central thing? It's kind of weird to call something an unstable compound also when you're literally like literally combining it with 3 bonds. That's weird. Feels like this code should work. And it shouldn't be crashing into things. Alright, it is definitely believable that at that point there might be trouble. Alright, well then grab, extend, release, minus, then grab, it feels like there's a level of efficiency here where you could potentially just make 2 combinations of all the matches and make your original shape, and then extend to this 3rd spot and just spin the whole thing around to make the 3rd combination of matches. But the timing and the programming on that would probably not be worth it. Let's see if this works. Yeah. Should be grab plus 1, I think. Just +1, no pivots. See how that works. Three, 1. Yeah, the problem is it's just here. Problem is this piece. 3, 1, 2, 3 would be the longest. So easiest thing to do would be to take this out and just have this here instead. So in this case, it would be grab and then rotate and reset. And then grab minus grab minus rotate and then grab minus reset. Another minus not necessary. See if these first 2 chunks of code are going to be good enough. Then we'll look at the longer next 2 chunks of code. Yeah, I think what you do at this point is you probably just would want to rotate once on a pivot, not even do anything else, and just rotate. Pivot once and then rotate once and then reset. Of course, the next step would be to grab. It's not just pivot once though. It would be pivot twice. Then the next step would be to grab one and then go minus and it's kind of the same thing, pivot twice and then rotate. That's what I'm thinking it will be. Okay. Pivot twice. It's one way and one the other. That's not what we want. We want to go that way twice. Okay. And that is turning us inward. I don't think this is going to work if we just have him pivot twice the other direction. I think there's going to be a need to do a little bit more code. Nope, that won't work anyways. So pivot twice. And then at that point, I think you let go. And maybe you even go to a minus before you let go. Let's see what where that puts that. Oh, let's rotate. Forgot about the rotate. Okay. Next piece of this is where it gets messy though. So we got it. Probably needed to step. Okay. It's at this level, and I guess we will just have to use up this space. Honestly, I just want to get a solution and be done with it. So at this level, I guess you would let go and then extend, grab, pivot twice, and then return. We do have to get this whole center thing ready for more final manipulation in the next step, but yeah. Let go, extend, pivot, retract. What did I miss? I missed the grab part, of course. Well, I don't know if that got that quite in the right place, but I think what we'll do is we'll grab one, we'll rotate, we'll let go, we'll minus. It's probably the wrong way to do this. Probably should be grab one, rotate, pivot, then let go. Then if this actually works, I'll be surprised. Extend, grab, and then let's just assume that we need several pivots there. Is it, there's not enough pivots here? I'm just guessing at this point. Yeah. These episodes are way too long. Okay, I think it is not a retract here that you really need as much as it's a plus that you need. You're holding it by that point, so bringing it forward and down might not. Yeah. Can we extend one more? Maybe. See if that works. Yep. I guess that would be the right place. If I extend it and then brought it down. But that would require us to let go minus, grab, then go plus, and then reset. And I don't think that's quite right because I think I need to extend still too. That is almost right, what we just did. We put another pivot here. Yeah, I think maybe I just need to reset. Honestly, I don't know if I even need this minus if I'm just putting a plus here. Let's just see if that works. Interesting. Why are we doing the plus then? Yeah, but we are in a case where it's not like this fixes everything. It's really only the beginning of the next step. Spin. spin. I think I need yet another spin, or another 2 pivots. This is just a ton of work that's happening while you're still not really even taking it to the next step. Let's see. Once we've pivoted everything, there is going to need to be a rotation. There's going to need to be an extension, and probably another extension. And we'll see where that puts that. Alright. So that did put it where it should be. I half wonder if maybe there's a better system of efficiency here, where if we just had this ready to go, could we possibly just extend, and then rotate the other way? And this is going to be a problem with debugging, certainly, as we go forward. Yeah. That lines up with that. So now we may not even need this stuff. Let's just get rid of it. Now it is only a matter of potentially putting it down. Stop. So now we have the perfect solution there. It is now just going to be a case of, well, we've got some things here that are being used because you're doing a full spin here on these 3. And then if this did swing or spin, it would have hit some things anyways, so probably just want to work in this general area on the right. Right. So here, that's where we would put the center. We could do that and that. You couldn't have your salt over this direction. Probably could have the salt over in this direction without any real concern. Okay. So instead of rotating, let's just extend, and see how that works. We probably need a bit of a pivot in a different place. I didn't stop it in the right place. That didn't seem like that was quite in the right place though, so maybe we will do this instead. All right. If we're gonna do that, it's gonna be here, then how can we get the next part of that to work? We moved over one, maybe. But clearly that's not going to work. Okay. So one pivot at this point is needed to get it quite to the beginnings of being lined up. And then we need to start down the next steps. It's taken forever just to get to this point though. Alright, well, one more pivot and then extend, and yeah, everything does kind of seem like we will be just using all of this. That's not too much though. And then when you reset, now you're going to pick one up, then you're going to rotate. I think if it's all said and done, you'll just probably want to rotate like that. I think that's probably going to use the same amount of space anyways. Rotate, rotate. Unrotate. Minus. Extend. Extend. Reset. Nope. There's a problem with that. You've got this level of danger. So you kind of don't want it here, but you also can't probably save too much space in too many other places. If anything, what this irritatingly will do is probably just make this a bigger hassle to get it into that same start point. Okay. It is going to probably use up that part still. And there might be some space saving measure where if you get the pivot just right on this, you could bring it back inward and it then would swing and hover over some of the fewer places. Alright, but I guess what you do here is you just take this, you rotate it 1, 2, 1, 2, and I think 3 would crash. So at that point, I think you have to extend and minus. There definitely is points here where the code is poorly written, and we are going just all over the place. Sadly, the way this code is written, the next step, though, would be, I guess instead of reset, it would be release and then plus rotating back, extend, grab, pivot, 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 reset. See if that works. So this one and this one, we didn't need an extend here, I guess. This one here, and this one here is also going to get hit. This one maybe not so much, but very possibly also. I think what's going to happen is we're going to end up taking up more space. So there almost certainly has to be some way with a lot of careful programming to take some of this area and overlap it with this area. That was more rotations than I needed. Why? I think I needed 3. Yeah, I think I only need 2 pivots. I frankly wouldn't be surprised if the code building this isn't frankly like that far and that different from the code to build this part. And even though there's a visual difference, it may be as easy as just moving the location and having it do the same thing. 1, 2, extend, minus, and yeah, my kingdom for a function. if I could just program these as functions, just for an ease of readability and ease of programming and adjustment later on. I guess at the core of it, functional programming is making the assumption that you will make mistakes and not write your code absolutely perfectly on the first try, which is totally the right assumption to make. Like, even if code was incredibly simple, very few people would be able to write it from their head without running it or debugging it at all. Frankly, almost every case where you thought that you would have written code perfectly the first time would just be a case of not debugging it that much. And there definitely are scenarios for different kinds of computing and computers that maybe you just don't ever bother to really consider because they're going to be such outlying cases anyways. But yeah, there are also cases where you may just not think of things. In particular, embedded programming, where you have extremely limited amounts of RAM and you have extremely limited programming compilers and libraries, where if you run out of RAM, you will just get weird random results, because there's for small embedded devices, there's not really any memory protection going on that you would run into in a more advanced like computer program. So in a regular like C program, if you tried to access memory, or if the memory ran out, you would get an error going out of memory, or memory has been not registered to you that you're trying to access. There's a better phrase for that that's more common, but I can't remember what it is. Maybe out of bounds access, or just access violation. But in embedded programming, you won't really run into that. So I guess the next step at that point is probably to grab it, rotate it, and pivot it one more time, and then we're going to do basically the exact same code we have done again, but from a different pivot point, which hope we can access that pivot point. Yeah, we can. All right. Make sure we put that back to where we started. Okay, so it's not in this final one. There's not really a reason to pivot. In fact, there's not really much of reason to let go quite at this point. I mean, honestly, do I want to keep my sanity and let go and pick it up here and then move it here? Or do I want to try something crazy by taking this from this point to this point, and then, I mean, you just won't be able to pivot. I mean, you at that point would have to let go and grab that and pivot anyways. So let's just keep the code similar. Let go, minus, let's see, let go wouldn't be minus, it would then be plus, and a rotation, so it's facing that one. And then it would be a grab. And then a minus. And then I believe one pivot. That's all that's needed. And then a reset. See if that gets it in the right position. We're just testing for one little thing. That way we know we're only keeping our attention to that one thing, instead of potentially making a dozen changes and then trying to figure out what's going wrong after we've made a dozen changes, or after or we have to look for a dozen different things. Okay, so that's right. So we now, in the reset position, are just going to go and pivot that way and that way. Extend there. And then minus. And then reset. And we'll test the code, even though really there shouldn't be much of a change to the code. I can't help but feel like these puzzles, though, are just getting more complicated for complexity's sake and nothing else. It really doesn't feel like they're really attempting anything here that's that great. So we've got another piece here. Let's see. At this point, we've gotten that. You would have might as well release and rotate and grab and pivot twice and then reset. Okay, good. So then we just, once again, if we could have a function, we could just say run this function 3 times. Or even if we had loops, if this had any kind of programming and wasn't just like even basic by macro standards, because most macros at least have repetition loops in them. But yeah, you basically have something here that I really don't believe this is Turing complete, because you cannot move at any point back and forward in the code. So instead of just having what would be the absolute basic niceties of a programming language, we just have to continuously go down this path of copying the exact same code. And it's not a case, at least for me, that by being forced to repeat the same code multiple times that I'm rethinking about the code, or in any way thinking about maybe maybe ways to optimize the code. Yeah, and honestly, I doubt repetition does lead too many people in any case towards the idea of this reset we shouldn't use, but we'll do it for the time being. Yeah, I seriously doubt repetition leads more people towards thinking about what they're doing. Repetition is fine in some cases for learning habits, but I don't feel like it. So you're gonna hit this one and this one, and then at that pivot, spinal pivot's not needed. There's also a spot either here or here that's getting hit at one point. Okay. We don't need these. What we need is to drop it, which if it's here, we need to probably see if we can retract it and rotate it. Minus, minus, let go, rotate. It's here. If it would rotate from here to here, it should be able to grab it. And from the grab, it was able to retract and rotate. Maybe not retract at all. Maybe just rotate. Just see where that ends up. Yeah, there's tons of space being poorly used over here. I don't think this space is actually being used at all, and this one is barely being used. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think this one's being used, but I think this is. So what I want to do is step on this at the later point. Now this one is being used, this one's not. This point and this point is being used. Alright. Okay. If we move this here and this here, I wish there was a way to get this all to work. There and there. That's your final area. It does still feel like there's a decent amount of space up here that's going to be used. Let's just be honest. At least that's going to be used. Probably that. Probably that. And we'll hit play and see. And honestly, I kind of don't care. That, and that. And then, so pretty much all of these here. 1, 2, 3, and this. And I'm just kind of marking things as far as area. 39 jumps up to 44, where if I just had these pivots better, they wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be 100% certain that you couldn't just move this part over one to the right and just be very, very careful about not having it crash into this component. And yeah, there still would be a desire to potentially move this closer to this piece, but you'd have to be so careful not to have anything on top of this piece to make a connection. Yeah, I think I'm happy enough with this code as it is. Yep. Oddly, this is not speeding up by much. Like, this is 90 gold and it's 800 cycles in. It's just incredibly slow. And I really don't know how you would like, as far as area, yeah, a few tweaks to the area of my solution would get me the best area. So I'm not that far off. It looks like there might be a tiny sliver of a solution down here that would get the area way less. Number of cycles is insanely high, but we did get the cost to the lowest. Yeah, I don't know what you could really do. Like, kind of obviously, maybe what you would do is something closer to putting this somewhere over here, which I could see a solution to that. Like, if you say grabbed this piece and put it here, probably it's not as good. You could save yourself a little bit of space even with my solution by doing that lower. Also, if this is the end solution, then all of these could then be eliminated, because it would just be a case of bringing it here. Yeah, then you pivot that downward like that. And so as long as all of your spins mostly hit this section, instead, yeah, you might have it. It might be very much the case that this is the right layout. And then if you start to think about like being really careful and using less space on this. Maybe you do something like this. Like, this is one of those cases again where it would be very nice and convenient to, yeah, you could take this, swing this, bring this down this way, and then swing it over here, back this way, and get it to that. So you could potentially eliminate these two. Also, save space. And then as long as this could reach the two spots, which it kind of doesn't feel like it can. I think you'd probably end up building it here. You could do that, and you could do that. I think for convenience sake, you probably still would want to do something like this, and then this, because you pick this up, swing it here, put it here. It's probably not worth it to try and not use that square. So I would say at least that square. But that'd be about it. No, actually, it'd probably just be more convenient to pick this up, swing this here. Well, you could pick this up, swing it here, go this way, and push to save one more square. That way. Of course, you're going to run into this issue where the final problem is still going to take up a lot of space. So you have a full hexagon around, which means you basically need a full hexagon around there, and you need to be able to actually access that, so, and pivot it, which maybe you can't actually grab it and pivot it in this location. Maybe you have to do something closer to that. And I don't know if this doesn't just make everything too complicated for its own good. Maybe you would be better off just building it over in this corner and trying to have it overlap that way. Problem with that is this is not long enough. Maybe you just build it. No, you really can't just build it here. Though it would crash into too many things. So yeah, I don't really see a solution to save a ton of space. Like it really does feel like everything will overlap and get used. Like here. Maybe in your pivoting you don't hit this one. Maybe in your pivoting you just go over a few of them. Like I could see it being this hexagon here, and then when you move over here it would be this three-way that would then swing to this three-way that would then swing to this three-way that would then swing to this three-way, or three distance, and this three distance, and this three distance, which would, I guess, mean that this and this wouldn't be used, except for when this pivots, but you probably could adjust for that maybe a little bit, but it's probably not even worth it, and is just wiser to say, well, at the end this three-way will rotate over and possibly even touch this one and hit this, and arguably this, as it rotates into place, might be touching this one and touching this one too. But yeah, I still don't really feel like that's wrong. Yeah. So theoretically, that would be the solution. Now, what theoretically would we do to make this more efficient? It really is just a completely different horse of another color. Like, if you're going for efficiency, you need almost certainly to use the reagents as fast as possible. You, I suspect, want to just make at least a pattern, if not something bigger than a pattern. But I'm not 100% sure if something like this. It would have been nice just to have the glyph of triple bonding always, to keep the glyph of unbonding and the glyph of bonding further apart, honestly, because there's been a couple times I've accidentally grabbed the glyph of unbonding, and you've very rarely actually needed the glyph of unbonding. Okay, this would be the pattern for this one, and then that one, and then that one. So each of those could have a salt thing on them, a salt thing pushed into them. But also one would have to go there. So grab this. At a certain point, you may not even, it may not be worth it to try for any space savings at all. So like putting that there, very possibly not worth it if you're trying to go for efficiency. But it does kind of feel like there should be some pattern to try and push items as quickly as possible into the triple bonding. And then the horizontal connections, once you have the triple bonding in, I guess are fine. So I could see an argument where this would push to this, would not connect to this because you can't overlap a triple bond, which would then connect to this. So there's something to that idea. Once you have the center part here, you really could just have the whole thing pivot and try and connect everything that way also. Because yeah, I don't see a faster concept or idea immediately in my mind to try and make this longer. So I kind of think this is mostly the solution, with the slight exception that once this part here is connected, like this part here would also want get your triple bond here, and then you'd want one there. Then you've got your triple bond here, and you'd want one there, and then I guess logically you would want another triple bond there. But visually this sure seems similar to this layout, or more accurately, what would happen is if you just had something spinning around. And yeah, I just have not worked with the triple bonding anywhere often enough to find some optimized way of using it to get that to happen. But it does definitely feel like just your standard conveyor belt solution would be my first thought. But I probably would want to also spend a lot of time trying to figure out if the triple bond can happen faster. Is there a way to get 2 or 3 of these on the triple bond connector faster? In this layout in particular, that'd probably be fairly hard to do. Well, we're almost at 3 hours. There, does that look suspicious to you? Now that you've asked, I can't help but see it in the light of suspicion. But if you saw it on its own without me having asked, would you think it's suspicious? Perhaps I wouldn't. It's difficult to say without seeing it in place. Well, we'll have to trust that Nils knows how to place a charge unobtrusively. I have a feeling that he's seen his share of this type of work before. And you're sure he knows where to place them? Yeah, Clara's seems seen to that. Man, I'm reading terribly. She's somehow obtained a map of the House Colvin's properties, including the guard posts and armories. So they're gonna straight up blow something up. This isn't going to be a tiny assassination attempt. Of course she has. I'll enjoy watching the neighboring houses rush to claim Colvin's property as their own. It's a fitting retribution. So yeah. And see, you have like this curious lipstick, so it almost seems like it would have made more sense just to have Soraya simply poison the main guy and kill him instead of what seems like closer to a bombing is going to happen here. Yeah, and I don't even think I want to try for another Sigmar's Garden. Actually, come to think of it, now that I've reminded myself, there's no reason to try for Sigmar's Garden. There's no way I'm gonna play this enough to win 25 games, let alone then get to the next step that would be to get to 100 games, or the next one would be probably 50 games that they would want you to do, and then 100 games. Unless they finally, in like this final chapter, which I assume this is a final chapter, will let us do a different version of Sigmar's Garden that maybe is a bit faster. Yep. In some of these episodes, I've definitely hoped that I could have gotten more accomplished, more than just 2 challenges accomplished, but yeah, I don't see that happening very often. It's a shame there aren't icons that tell you what items you're going to use, so I really would have to potentially go into each of these puzzles to try to find what the original instance of the triple bonding was. It's not like there's specific key phrases that something with like unstable in the name means that you're going to be using a triple bond, or something like precision in the name means something more. I'm not even sure if we didn't even see the triple bond happen until chapter 2 or later. So that does definitely put you in a bad position if I really did want to go back and try and practice triple bonds and see if that helps. This might be it, the explosive file. So yeah, there might be, you can definitely see for these easier puzzles there's a lot more efficiency going on here. This one, I mean, it's really still just doing the exact same thing. If we step into it, it rotates and then you get some acceleration because another one rotated in the way, and then it pivots to the next one, and then in the rotation you're making that third bond. Like, this triple space is efficient on area, but frankly would have been more useful as a long line instead of a triangle, because then you could have simply written the code so that it spun in a circle to make all the combinations between 2 items. And I guess I'd totally forgotten about the fact that the triple bond only works on fire particles and nothing else. So I don't even feel like there's a lot to be learned if I was to go back and try and solve that more efficiently. Alright, well, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.